So, the new season of American Horror Stories has just started. I want to say maybe a couple of days ago, the first episode of season 2 came out. Don't remember exactly what day it was. I do know that it kind of flew under my radar because I'm waiting for season 11 of the actual American Horror Story, not the spin-off. And I'm still not too certain where the spin-off sits as far as what matters to me in the overall hierarchy of the American Horror Story telling. Reason being is because I just am not sure what they're doing with that, if they're meant to be separate yet. I'm going to start treating them as such, but then if I am treating them as such, then I don't necessarily care of keeping track of them. That's just how I feel being a consistent watcher of the American Horror Story franchise, I guess I should say. And I was thinking about how I started seeing promos for it, and I'm like, oh shit, it's already out. But I had never done an entry about the last season of American Horror Story. So I was like, oh yeah, this has been on my list. Let me put it in and sneak it in here as part of my, bunch of TV show entry things. So let's just go ahead and say that the first couple entries I did for American Horror Stories, I should say, plural, I had done each episode as its own entry. Now, if they're playing them off again the same way they did with the first season, I might do the same thing, but I haven't even started them yet, and so far it's already been a couple of days since the first one was released, so I'm already sort of behind. I'll probably be behind at least through the second or third one, and then once I start getting my hands on them and getting the ability to watch them, I'll probably do one entry per each one, as I did with the last one, just to kind of keep it consistent. So, let's go and talk about Season 10 of American Horror Story, Double Feature. Why it was called Double Feature, I'm not sure. I thought originally that there was meant to be some kind of connection between the two features in a way, the two storylines they were doing. So let's just go one by one. Let's talk about the first portion of it, which is 60% of the season. Out of 10 episodes, this is 6. So the first part of the double feature is called Red Tide. Now, Red Tide was about this author who goes to this remote town in Massachusetts and he wants to try to finish his book, and then he gets caught up with these... Oh no, it's not a book. He's trying to finish the scripts for a movie. Or was he trying to finish the scripts for a book? I can't remember. He was a writer. So he's trying to write, and he escapes to this small town where it's pretty much empty so he can have some peace. And they also have a deal where his wife is able to remodel the house they're in so they can sort of stay for free. She gets some free publicity because she's trying to be this designer. And the story basically revolves around the writer getting caught up with these other writers that live out there and this drug they take, which turns them into geniuses. I mean, I guess you shouldn't say geniuses. It turns them into like almost savants. Like they have the ability to just write exactly what they want to write, tell the exact stories they want to tell, and they don't really have writer's block. They just breeze through it. They breeze through sleep, and they sit there, and he writes, he had trouble writing 2 pages. Now, overnight, he wrote 10 episodes of this show he's trying to write, or he had finished the entire novel overnight of whatever he was trying to write. The drawback, which is where, it being American Horror Story in this universe comes from, is he now craves blood. So is it that it turns him into a vampire, you ask? No, he's not a vampire. He is more along the lines, sort of just, how do they explain it in the show? I'm trying to remember. So the way the pill that he takes works is that it forces his body to produce the capability of how his brain is able to work, how the creative part of his brain works. And while it's pushing through and kind of sending his brain into overdrive, his body lacks a certain amount of vitamins and a certain amount of nutrients or whatnot that it's burning through too quickly, and his body is craving it. And the fastest way to get this back into his system is through drinking blood. And if it just stopped there, it would have been great. But it took it a step further and made it even better. It only works. The pill only works if you are already you already need to have the brain of a creative. You can't be like a hack. You can't be somebody who wishes they were creative and tries really hard to be creative, and you're really just bumbling around and you don't have anything. You don't have anything. You don't have any sort of talent. You're not a talentful person. You're just a nobody, essentially. Now, if you take the pills trying to be this savant of writing, or this amazing designer, or even a huge turn in the story is where his daughter takes it. She sees what his father does and she's like, I want to try that. And then his daughter takes it. So now he's got to feed his daughter blood, and his daughter is learning the violin, and all of a sudden she's a master violinist. And then the mother takes it, but she turns into this grotesque creature because anybody who has no talent, the pill doesn't work on them. And it sort of just drains their mental capabilities because it's pushing those same neurons and those same vitamins through your system, that it's just burning you out to the point where, you have no talent to use those resources. So all it's doing is burning them and making you crave blood. So it turns you into this kind of blood craving monster. And there's a bunch of other little story details where it comes to Sarah Paulson's character playing a homeless, like a homeless artist. Well, she's not homeless. She wants to be an artist, but she's homeless. But she has some sort of disease or something where she's also, I think she's addicted to opioids. That's what I'm trying to think. I think she's an opioid addict. And then you have her, and then of course randomly you have Macaulay Culkin, who also plays an addict who also wants to be a writer. He gets involved in everything. And then later on in the story, you meet the chemist who created it. You see a lot of the backstory of the two people who sort of gave the writer of the family, the father, who gave him the pills. You see their backstories a little bit more and how they became to be the muses they are, the tremendous talent they are through their process of learning about the pill and taking it and being successful in that respect. So Red Tide, despite its ending being a little lackluster, I loved Red Tide. I thought the whole season should have been Red Tide, and you could have easily wrote 4 more episodes of story in that and just made the whole season Red Tide. Why double feature to involve what the second part is, I don't know. I don't think it was 100% necessary, and I'm going to go ahead and say that they probably should have left it at Red Tide for the whole season. Maybe they called it a double feature to kind of play into the movie one from American Horror Stories, the episode about the film, but even that doesn't make sense because both of these things don't have any correlation to that storyline either. But then it's also, it doesn't have any connection to themselves. So the second part 2 of double feature, the second feature, is called Death Valley. It's about aliens. And it's just this weird roundabout alien story that they get through in 4 episodes. And anybody that knows 4 episodes of American Horror Story can give you a lot of details. And this goes into things like Area 51 and how the presidency knew about the aliens and what they took from the aliens to give humans the ability to have the certain machines they have. And they have really weird things like somebody plays Amelia Earhart in one of the episodes. So Amelia Earhart's alive and she's working with the aliens. It's just the whole alien portion of season 10 is just not as good as what Red Tide was giving us. Maybe it's because they did it in 4 episodes and they realized that Red Tide was going to take 6 and they needed to try to cramp in as much as they could within 4. But you could have easily just split this up into 2 separate seasons, called 1 Red Tide, called 2 Death Valley. Like, this is just season 10. American Horror Story is already approved through season 13. So these two things could have easily been two separate seasons, and then you still could have written whatever else you had, because you're going to get renewed for more. As long as there's people backing this, and not AMC, if FX wants to keep doing it, and you still got all of the main actors who want to keep doing it, because I don't think any of them are going to stop doing it. Sarah Paulson, Evan Peters, Lily Rabb, they're all going to still be doing it. So I don't think you need to worry about losing the people who are what makes American Horror Story. And it's just, whatever they tried to cramp in through Death Valley is just not worth it. It was just such a letdown. And you would think that, yeah, there's a couple of things that kind of make you go, okay, yeah, this is good. Okay, yeah, this is good. But they don't flesh anything out. You don't really care about much. And being that they were able to tell the Red Tie story in just 6 episodes and make you care about something, it just shows you that they have the writing capabilities. Every season up to this point shows you that they have the writing capabilities. One of my favorite seasons is Coven. I think Coven is a fantastic season. Right along with that, it's Roanoke. Roanoke is just as phenomenal as Coven is to me. One of the seasons I dislike the most, and a lot of people are probably going to hate me for it, but it's Asylum. I don't like Asylum that much, and it's simply because Asylum has way too much going on. I probably mentioned this in one of the episodes I've done about American Horror Story so far, but Asylum has way too much going on. If you split the 6 different stories or 8 different stories happening in Asylum up, that's easily 5 more seasons they could have made out of those storylines. And they just cramped so much in there, and they tried to have resolutions to all that stuff. I don't remember the last time I watched it, but I don't really care to revisit it. I've only revisited a couple of seasons, and Asylum's not one of them. I've revisited Murder House before, and Murder House was the first one that premiered that I thought had too much going on, and I didn't get into it until very later on. Now I'm talking, I started with Coven, then I did Roanoke, then I did, what's the one between Coven and Roanoke? I didn't really like the circus one all that well. There was another one that I can't think off the top of my head. I can't remember when Hotel was, but I think Hotel is before Roanoke. Hotel's fantastic. Then I went back and I gave like Murder House a chance, and I was like, yeah, Murder House is great. And I gave Asylum a chance, and I just think it's overcrowded. Death Valley is the same issue. It's overcrowded. There's too much shit going on that you're not giving the time to fester out. You're cramping too many things into these hour-long episodes. It took 4 hours to tell us this story that I still really didn't care about. And it took you 6 hours to tell the first story that I just wanted more of. So I think Double Feature is probably not on a lot of people's lists as being the best ones. I know Roanoke is on a lot of people's list simply because they're not huge fans of the found footage stuff as I am. So that's why Roanoke has a special place in my heart. But I do hope whatever the new season of American Horror Story that comes out is going to be worthwhile and kind of kickstart American Horror Story for me again. And until then, we have, American Horror Stories that's out that is going to be premiering and giving us episodes up until mid-September, I think. So that's holding us out, I guess, for now. But I do hope that season 11 of American Horror Story gives us a lot more than how we were left off with Death Valley. And again, Red Tide should have been its own thing. Death Valley should have been a completely different season if they wanted to tell that story. You may agree or disagree, but truthfully, that I don't think the double feature aspect was worth cramming in all that writing. You have a good writing team. We've seen what you're able to do when you write things like Apocalypse. Like when you wrote Apocalypse, you were phenomenal. So I know what you're capable of, and you just have to do a little bit better with the next season.